It's just a gym lift. It's not like it's at a powerlifting meet. This is an excuse I really dislike from people. When they're coming in and we're hitting a heavy single, and I'm not even talking about your hypertrophy training or any of that, because obviously, hopefully, any training you're doing for muscle mass, you're actually doing the correct ranges of motion, working the muscles that you want to work, all of these things. Right? I hope that's the case. That's oftentimes not the case, but hopefully it is. But when it comes to doing some bigger lifts, I see this all the time as an excuse for people to come in and use some terrible form, hitch on lifts, grind, bounce weights off their chest, all this stuff. And to me, this is a nonsense. This is a nonsense position. And the reason for it is, what are you trying to achieve? Are you doing a 1 rep max lift because you're trying to get stronger? Or are you doing it to appease your ego? And the thing that I would say to a lot of these younger guys is someone like me who's been doing this a long time, again, 47, I've been lifting a little while. And I've moved some pretty big weights on camera for you guys over the years, right? Do you think that coming in and doing heavy singles that way is going to keep you in the game a long time? Okay? Because it doesn't impress any serious lifters. It might impress some kids. It might impress some dudes on the internet when you upload it, and people do that all the time. But when you get around people who are really serious lifters, do you really think your 315 or your 325 bench that you bounced off your chest, lifted your butt in the air? I mean, do you think it impresses a serious lifter? No, it doesn't. If anything, they're just like, yeah, you're just a clown. And we get that you may be training hard, okay? But it's not serious. The same thing, you're grinding and hitching on a deadlift and you got straps on it and all this to pull it off. It's not a legitimate lift, but here's the other thing. You're creating bad habits that are going to carry over. If you ever do try to do a legitimate lift where it's compared to other people, you've now ingrained bad habits. And this is one of the things that I see with a lot of fairly new powerlifters. They get really psyched up. Do a bunch of pre-workouts, and they scream and yell and get worked up. And I've got people even on some of my friends lists I see do this. Okay, and every time they hit a PR, what happens? They let go. They just slam the weight from the top and turn loose and let it hit the ground and jump and scream. Okay. Now, anyone who's coached powerlifters already sees the problem. So if that is what you've now trained yourself to do, what's going to happen when you hit a PR at a meet? Because when you're in competition, what do you think happens in the competition? When your nerves are there, there's a crowd cheering, there's a judges giving commands, you're in this different, potentially stressful environment, depending on, it's not stressful for me, but stressful for a lot of people. Particularly if you haven't done more than 1 or 2 meets, right? It can be very stressful. Well, what do you think happens? You're going to do exactly what you did in training. So as soon as you hit a deadlift PR on the platform, you're going to let go at the top, and you're going to jump and scream, and the judges are going to red light it and fail the lift. Because you have to maintain proper control all the way through the lift, top to bottom, in competition. It means you have to set the weight back down under control while still holding on to it after the down command. All right? The judge will give you the command to lower it. You don't get to just lower it whenever you want. Same thing on the benching. They tell you when to start the lowering on the bench. They tell you when to press it. They tell you when to rack it. Right? The judge tells you when to go, not when your psyched up adrenaline tells you to go. They tell you when to rack weights, when to lower them. And if you get it wrong, your lift gets missed. So I would highly recommend you don't train that way. If you're going to compete, you're going to create problems for yourself because you're going to replicate what you do in the gym and competition, the bad form, everything. Okay? So you have that, but then we come over to, are you going to get hurt? Okay? Are you going to get hurt? Like, are you training, are you doing those heavy singles to improve your strength? Or are you trying to display strength for everyone? And I get it. Again, I understand we have egos, particularly as men. We have egos. We want to impress other people. We want to display our strength. Okay, we absolutely want to do that. But I can tell you right now, unless you are lifting some near world championship level weights, no one's going to look at a bad form lift and be impressed. I mean, really, other lifters, like, honestly, guys, if you use really bad form and you're hitching or whatever with 500 pounds on a deadlift, 500 pounds, nobody's impressed. And 800 pounds, 900 pounds, okay, you use some bad form and you hitch a little and whatever with 900 pound deadlifts, people are going to be like, that's a strong dude. But there are women who deadlift 500 pounds in competition strict. Like, you're not impressing anybody if you're hitching and strapped and all this and dropping it at the top. Okay, you're not. Nobody's impressed. Same thing with benching. Tons of guys bench 315 clean all the time. Pretty beautiful. If you're bouncing with a 315 bench, nobody is impressed. So even your ego should be bruised at that point. Okay. Now, if it's 500 plus pounds, 600 pounds, okay, man, people will be like, okay, yeah, that's still crazy strong. But not 315. Hence the issue here. So what you're doing is you're potentially injuring yourself. You're beating your body up. You're not even training your max strength. And all you're doing is risking injury for what? Because some guys are like, well, it's just a gym lift. It's like, yeah, but why are you doing it? Are you doing it for your ego to impress people? Then if it's ugly, it better be some truly monstrous weight. Otherwise, do it clean. People are going to be more impressed if they're serious lifters. Are you doing it because you want to really get strong? Well, cheating and flopping doesn't necessarily make you stronger. Building muscle makes you stronger, and then doing really clean, perfect singles, right? So there's that. And then we come over to injury risk. If you're not achieving those other goals, all you're doing is creating risk of injury for no reason, no benefit. And I'm not being a form police. I'm really not. But there's a point where it's just silly, guys. It's just silly. And that's what a lot of just the crappy gym lifts are. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.